Welcome to the Beaches Watch June meeting. Oh my gosh, we're halfway through the year already. Scary. I'm Maria Mark, I'm the president of Beaches Watch, and I'll be your host tonight. We have a great program featuring our City Council Representative Rory Diamond. We have town hall with Rory, so Q&A will be following his presentation. But before we get started, I just have a few announcements I'd like to share with you. So we are recording our meetings like we do on all of our meetings. You can watch it tomorrow on our YouTube channel, Beaches Watch 2012, or you can access it through our website. Is this too loud? No. Good. Sorry. It's very loud to me. So, as you know, we are a membership organization, so your membership helps support our mission. And it's at $15 for individual, $20 for family, and $5 for student. It's a year-long membership from January through December, so you can renew tonight. The ladies at the table when you signed in would be glad to take your membership renewal or new, if you are new to us, any donations, or you can donate through our website at beacheswatch.com. We always like to recognize our elected officials. We really appreciate them coming out and supporting our programs. We have Mayor Chris Hoffman from the City of Jacksonville Beach. We have Candace Kelly, City of Atlantic Beach. Greg Sutton from Jacksonville Beach City Council. Bill Horn from the City of Jacksonville Beach. Curtis Ford, Mayor of Atlantic Beach. John Wagner, City of Jacksonville Beach. And last but not least, Sandy Golding, City of Jacksonville Beach. What did you do, Chris? Did you have to promise them like ice cream afterwards?
Hey, we have a majority here today. I'm very proud of Jacksonville Beach right now. We got a lot of talking to do with our councilman.
I told you, stop raising the height limit.
You're like a little banter now and then. Okay, so it looks like we're still trying to get Governor DeSantis to veto a very bad vacation rental bill, SB 208. We have his
280.
I'm sorry, 280. Did I say 20? Sorry. We have Governor DeSantis' email up here, Governor Ron.DeSantis at eog.myflorida.com, and his phone number as well. Sandy, do you want to talk about this vacation bill a little bit, just for people who may not know exactly what it entails? Or don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you've been following this religiously. So just 5 seconds here.
Okay, I can't talk about it in 5 seconds, but I will just say, so this impacts the City of Jacks Beach the most because we don't have restrictions that Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach already have, but it still impacts Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach from the standpoint that this bill will not allow cities to have registration requirements, and I think that's something that's important to Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach because you may still want to know, because you do have vacation rentals in your communities, but they're restricted to how long they can operate. And so this will wipe out any registration requirements that local communities can have for vacation rentals in their community. And that's important because there's a lot of things, the City of Jacks Beach spent a lot of time working on this and coming up with a registration ordinance that was good for the City of Jacksonville Beach, and now this bill we just totally wiped out. And so we want to keep the ability to manage the vacation rental problems that we're having local. So we just ask that if you have the opportunity, please email or call the governor and urge him to veto Senate Bill 280. Thank you.
Okay, now it's that time of year, our cities will be looking at the budget to adopt in the fall. So Jax Beach already has several workshop dates scheduled. August 2nd, August 5th, August 6th, and August 12th. We'll have those dates on our website, which you can refer back to. As daunting as the budget workshops and going through the city budget is, this is so important. This is where you as citizens really can make an impact and really influence how your dollars are being spent and how you would like to see your dollars being spent in your community. So it can be very trying, it can be very slow, but it is so important. And I would urge you, if there are certain areas, particular areas that you are most concerned about, they have them broken out in these various workshops. And City of Neptune Beach and City of Atlantic Beach will also be holding budget workshops as well. So I would encourage you to pay close attention to these and really participate and let your voices be heard and let your input be known on how we're going to spend money going forward for the city. Okay? So this is an election year, if you guys don't know that. So Atlantic Beach, we have 3 seats that are going to be up for election. Our mayor seat, commissioner seat 2, and commissioner seat 3. Jacksonville Beach will have the largest, because we have the largest city council. So the mayor seat, council seat 1 at large, council seat 2 at large, and council seat 3 at large, which means you do not have to live in those districts to run for those seats. So it's open to anyone who wants to run for those seats. And then you've got council seat 4 for representing District 1. Neptune Beach, we have the mayor seat that's open, council seat number 2, and council seat 3. We do have some names that have already been thrown into the hat. This is, in these days and times with political landscape, I know people are really reluctant to try to run, but this is so important that we have citizens who really want to be engaged and want to have good government to step up. It's a huge commitment. It's not anything you want to take lightly, but it's something that I think we all, should really at least encourage other people to run that you think might be qualified, or you want to think about it for yourself. So qualifying for Jacksonville Beach and Neptune Beach is June 10th. From noon to June 14th at noon, and then qualifying for Atlantic Beach is August 26th from noon through August 30th. So those are the dates that you have to actually qualify and get your name on the ballot. Our next meeting in July, which always follows our 4th of July, which is a huge event here at the beach. We always like to have our Beaches Police panel follow up that holiday, so they will be speaking on July 10th. They'll be here in the library, and we'll have the police chiefs from each of our beaches speaking. So, just real quick show of hands, we kind of like to know how you guys heard about our meeting tonight. So, anybody on Nextdoor? That's not very popular, although I'm on it a lot, but okay. Facebook. No. Newspaper, Beaches Leader, they usually post our announcement. Website. Okay, that's good. Newsletter. Yay! You're actually reading our newsletter. That's awesome. Friends, neighbor, word of mouth. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. That's right. So yeah, please let your neighbors know. We hold our meetings the first Wednesday of every month, with the exception of a few months, like next month will be the second Wednesday. But anyway, so without further ado, we will now have our Jacksonville City Council representative, Rory Diamond, come up from Town Hall. So Town Hall typically means you can interact with him during his presentation. We're going to change that up a little bit. We're going to let him do primarily his presentation, will bring us up to date on what's going on, and then we'll host a Q&A following that. Okay? All right.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hey, this is George. If you don't know George, he is not a service animal. I am currently breaking the law. If he goes crazy, Mayor Hoffman has promised to take care of him, and he will. He gets bored of me just like everybody else. So, all right. So first of all, thank you, Beaches Watch, for having me. I love Beaches Watch. I love Miss Marie and Mark. LJ class 2014, along with Steve Gilbert, best LJ class in the history of all LJ. So just accept this. I'm sorry, because there's just facts. I was the vice president of Beaches Watch a long time ago, and I know there's a lot of preparation that goes into Beaches Watch and to do all the work to make this happen. So thank you, Sandy and Maria and the rest of the board for everything that you do to support. And thank you to all the elected officials in the room, and thank you to all the former elected officials, and thank you to the crazy people who are running for office. God bless you for stepping up, because it is not easy out there. It's tough and it's getting hard. The reason I like coming to Beaches Watch, and I haven't done this in 2 years, is because politics is incredibly partisan and angry and ugly right now. I'm guilty of this as much as anybody, but these are the things that are mission critical to our democracy, which is to talk about policy and to actually meet face to face and not behind the keyboard. Because the keyboard does something evil. I haven't quite figured out exactly what it is, but meeting face to face is really hard to say the things that you can say on Twitter in person. So we can talk about policy, and if you have a question, just no problem, raise your hand, and we'll talk about anything you want, because I think this is mission critical. All right, I do want to thank our 3 Beaches mayors. Thank you to my sister over there, Chris Hoffman. If you ever worry that your Jackson Beach mayor is unwilling to step up and speak the truth to your district councilman, fear not. He enjoys doing it. And thank you to Mayor Ford, who I'll talk about in a little bit, but working on park for off Mayport Road, so it's really exciting stuff that we're doing, so it's a pleasure working with you, sir. And then, of course, Mayor Brown is in France. So thank you to everybody but Mayor Brown. That's my favorite. All right, so if you don't know, I'm your District 13 City Council person. And in 1968, the city, and this is going to be redundant for a lot of you know this, but for folks who don't know, I think it's actually an important point. So the city of Jacksonville and the county of Duval, the same thing. 1968, we all smushed them all together. I personally think that was a terrible decision, but the people in the beaches opted out and they said no thank you. And so we have 3 beach cities that have a county-city relationship, but you still get to have a city council person, and that's me. So I represent everything from the bottom of Jackson Beach down to the south, all the way up to the tip of Mayport Naval Station, and then all the way across the ditch to the other side of the ditch, the other side of San Pablo, and most of the things on the east side of San Pablo. So that's our District 13. It got a little bit bigger after we redistricted because the rest of the city grew a little faster than the beaches, which makes perfect sense because, frankly, is he doing something? All right. Basically because we don't have anywhere else to grow. The beaches are pretty much built out for the most part. And so we got a little bit bigger, which means we have the entire intracoastal in our district. And that's relevant because that means we have most of the special districts in the city, and those are usually focused on dredging. So a lot of the work that we do on behalf of the district is actually about dredging and canals. So who knew? I didn't know until I took the office, and now we spend a lot of time working with like pilot ponds and groups like that to make sure that they have what they need to protect their property values and their quality of life. The other thing that's interesting about being your District 13 City Council person is that we have absolutely no control in the city of Jacksonville over many things that happen out here. Most importantly, we have no control over your land use and zoning. You all get to decide. Can you imagine if the city of Jacksonville had to decide whether or not there was towers being built out here? They would look completely different. And so our relationship really is one of city and county, and you all are essentially the money. So that is your role in our city government, which is you pay more money to the city than any other district and get the least amount of money back. And you get taxed twice. So you tax yourself, you get taxed by the county, and very little money comes back. So my job is to fight for you down there to get as much back as possible, and hopefully spend the money that's being spent downtown wisely. All right. So I'm going to talk about 3 issues at least. But if you don't hear your issue, and we're getting towards the last 20 minutes, just raise your hand, we'll cover your issue, no problem. So I'm going to talk about stadium. It's the #1 issue, it's what everybody wants to talk about right now. I'm going to talk about Penman Road. I know it's very personal to us here because we all use it. And I'll talk about it in a little bit, right, what's going on there. And then we'll talk about parks and housing. And I'll discuss those briefly, just because they're passion projects for me. But just looking back really fast, over the last year, I spent 9 months, almost 9 months in the Middle East on deployment. And so I really rely on our 17 elected officials out here at the beaches to know what was going on while I was gone. And they were wonderful. I was on the phone with them literally every single day for deployment, in particular the 3 beaches mayors, so that we could make sure that everything that we need from the city of Jacksonville was being done. So I want to thank them for all that good work. As soon as I got back, we got to file a bill called the Jacksonville Heroes Act. And after the Fire Watch, which is our regional effort to fight veteran suicide, which we did 4 years ago, the Jacksonville Heroes Act is something I'm very proud of, which made Jacksonville the best city in America when it comes to how we treat our deployed servicemen. And here's what it did. It said if you work for us, the city of Jacksonville, either as a city employee or JSO or JFRD or a JDA, if you're any of those, and you get deployed, we're going to pay you for 90 days, as though you were here. And that first 90 days of deployment are the hardest for family, because that's when you have to transition, you get kids to other schools, you have to, with your partner, if you have kids, figure out how you're going to get your life settled. Often you have to move, store things, and so City of Jacksonville became the best city in America for paying deployed service members at the beginning of their deployment. The second thing it did is it said, if you work for us, any of those groups, and you have a spouse who deploys, we're going to give you 8 hours of flex time a month while your spouse is deployed if you have dependent children or a dependent adult. So that if your mom and suddenly dad is left on deployment and now you have 100% of the responsibilities, or vice versa, we'll give you 8 hours of paid time to go take your kids to school, take your mom to the doctor to try and ease the burden of the deployment. And it passed unanimously, and we've taken that bill and we've shared it with CEOs around Florida, and I sent it to Buddy Dyer and all the other mayors around Florida saying, hey, you got to match Jacksonville. You say how great Orlando is. You say how great Tampa is. Well, do you treat veterans and service members as well as we do? The answer is no, so it matches there, right? It's starting to happen. We're seeing it on the show. All right, so came back and did that bill, and then we walked right into the stadium deal. And so that's where we're at right now as we evaluate the stadium. And here's a couple of interesting facts. In District 13, we have more season ticket holders than any other district. I think it's because we have the richest people, by being honest. People who can afford season tickets tend to live in wealthier places. That's my best guess. But here's what happened. When Lenny Curry was still mayor, he came out and, along with the Jaguars, they said, first thing we need to figure out is, can we keep the stadium, the old Gator Bowl? Can we keep it at Everbank Stadium? Or do we have to knock it down like other stadiums, or just ignore it and build another stadium somewhere else? First question. So they spent about 2 years evaluating the current Everbank field. The answer is yes, they can keep it. We can keep it. That's what they did down in Miami with Hard Rock Field, the stadium there. Instead of just completely getting rid of the old Sun Bowl, they renovated it. They did a new, what looks like a new stadium, but it's the old structure. So that saved us probably about $500 million. So that's a good thing. If you're looking at the $1.4 billion and you're wondering why it's not the $2 or $3 billion that, for example, Tennessee or Buffalo has had to come up with, or the $5 billion that they did in Los Angeles, or the $4 billion that they did in Las Vegas. The biggest one is that it's just the stadium, so it's not a lot of other development around. That's one thing. Two, we have to keep the stadium that we have and renovate it. So after that, the Jags went out and did an analysis, did a bunch of meetings and events and charrettes and all these things, and asked the fans what they wanted in the new stadium. And this was the top 3 things that signed in close, like top 3 and everything else is after. Number 1 was shade. If you've ever been on the west side, or the east side of the stadium for a preseason game down the bowl, it's all. I took my niece and nephew a couple of years ago, and you could stay for like 30 minutes and then have to go inside because it's so hot. So stadium, that half the stadium is really useless for months out of the season. So there will be shade. The second issue was it's kind of tough to get around the stadium, right? And then we have to take these weird ramps. You never quite know what ramp goes where, and then you get stuck. And sometimes you just want to get somewhere else, and all of a sudden you're in the parking lot. It's not a well-designed stadium. And so the new stadium will have much bigger concourses, easier ingress and egress, both up and down and out. They're also putting this stadium in the future, so they're putting this like wrap around the stadium, which Mark Langdon, the president of the Jaguars, says is similar to like sunglasses. So if you've got like aviator sunglasses that you can see out, but it reflects everything out and back. That's what it's like, and that's the quality of the material on the outside. So it's more like a plastic and not like a glass or something like that. The good news there is it keeps heat out. Also makes it easier to see the river and see other things from inside the stadium. So qualitatively, the concourses and the experience and the food, which they promise will not be like $50 for a hot dog and $70 for a beer. We'll see. I'm not holding my breath on that one, but that's what they're saying right now. It should be a better fan experience. They also said that the stadium should work better for concerts, events, so that we get more things there. Of course, Georgia has bought into the new stadium, as has the Data Bowl, the tax layer bowl. So that's the kind of what and why and how that's where we are now. Let's talk a minute about the deal that's currently before the City Council. So the overall cost, originally they came out and said it's $625 million each, and everyone thought, oh, this is 50-50, but that's not true. It's not 50-50. It's $625 million from the city, $625 million from the Jags to start, plus $150 million more from the city for deferred maintenance on the stadium, which, to be fair, we probably have to pay that eventually anyways, even if we didn't do a renovation. But it's another $150 million more money, so $775 million, right? That's the cost. The good news for the city is that the overruns are all covered by the Jags, and all the projects with the Jags have worked that way. They've taken out overruns, which is one stress, one bit of risk off the city, getting back onto the Jaguars, onto the NFL. Another piece of that puzzle is that the Jaguars have agreed to essentially pay for the management of the games, which is like $6 million a year, more or less. But that's what it is, $775 and $625. Over and on top of that, there's something called a community benefits agreement, which I've been really vocal about. But let me tell you what it is as fairly as I can. I'll give you my opinion. The NFL teams that build new stadiums all over the country tend to have, some people call it like the extortion that they do on the NFL for cash to get out, and other people say this is the money that we use to kind of bring the community into a new development. Lots of different ways to look at it. But in Buffalo, in Tennessee, and all the places, the NFL team will kick in $40 million, $50 million, something like that, in order to do programming around the stadium. Most stadiums are not built in the nicest neighborhoods, so they're built in neighborhoods that have needs. That's exactly true of Jacksonville, and so the NFL team will spend money in that neighborhood. So the Jags came forward and said they do $100 million of community benefits. That was the original deal. So $775, $625 plus $100 million over 30 years from the Jaguars for the neighborhood. Mayor Diamond came back and said she wanted more money out of the Jaguars, and she was willing to put $150 million of city money as a match to what the Jaguars did. So the way the deal currently looks is that there's $150 million of city money extra on top of the $775, plus $150 million over 30 years from the Jaguars, in order to have this community benefits agreement, which would be worth $300 million. Inside that agreement, as it's currently written, is a ton of money for city parks, and not any parks, but basically just the parks downtown. Some money for homelessness. Again, most of that is going to be spent downtown if it ever happens. $1 million for each of the 14 districts. So yay, you get $1 million back. Congratulations. And then a few other programs, workforce development, a few other things. My argument has been if the Jaguars are going to give us $100 million for free, why on earth would we spend $150 million to get $50 million more over 50 years? That's not a big deal. And so I've said, just take that part out. Let's take the $100 million for free, and then let's run through the budget process like normal of some of these programs that Mayor would like to do. That's fine. We just do it through the budget like normal. So that's been my argument. I think that's what will happen in the next couple of weeks. The City Council will take the community benefits agreement out. It'll have a vote on the deal, the 775 and the 625. So I think that's what will happen. Other parts of the deal that are relevant are the 30-year lease. I didn't know this before I came to City Council, but our biggest relationship with the Jaguars is not that they are here, but that we have a lease agreement with them. And that lease is now about 30 years old. The lease is critical that we have a clawback if they leave. Can you imagine spending $775 million and in 5 years and say, well, we're okay letting go of our 625 and we're going to go open up shop in Chicago? That would be nuts. So for 15 years, we get 100% of our money back if they leave. And that's a pretty good deal, especially compared to other cities. So that's the retention agreement that we've got in this. I'll answer any other specific questions anybody has about the Jaguars deal now. Okay.
Can you explain
might get lost.
Sure, we can get lost in this. We can spend the whole time on the deck. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll skip through. Let me talk about Penman Road. So, Penman Road is awful. It's a terrible road. It's one of these classic 40s and 50s. I promise if you got a question, I promise I'll get you. The issues we have in Penman Road, these are the ones. One, it's just a very old-fashioned road with a lot of traffic. The traffic doesn't move very smoothly. Second, the sidewalks are terrible, right? If you've ever tried to ride a bike or had a kid walk on it, it's like this, and it's all cracked and ugly. The other stuff, it has these huge swales, as opposed to, smoother, like normal, city streets where you've got like even sides that are safer, right? So we still have these old-fashioned swales. And then we've got stoplights there, all the way up. So if you've ever had to go through the 5-way, you know that if you just settle in for a 4-minute wait, no matter what, that's going to be your life. I drive it every single day. I wait every single day. It drives me crazy. There's not a circle there. So I'll show my cards on this. I would love to have a circle on the 5-way because I think it'll move traffic faster, and we won't have to sit there. The newest plan, can you show the newest plan? I literally got it yesterday. I had to twist arms to get it for this event. What is Penman Road? So this is, I asked for this plan so that we could talk about it today. I've got a lot of feedback on Penman Road. I've told everyone the truth, which is, if the community really hates something, like 90% of people say, I hate this about it, then I'm going to advocate for the city. I don't actually have the last say, but I have some say as your city council person. But if it's that even, I'm going to trust the engineers who design roads to give us the best possible road. So we've done the initial study, we got that money into the budget a couple of years ago. Now we're ready to actually get a final, and then we'll go out to bid and we'll actually start doing this thing. 2028 is the target year for this to actually start. And when it happens, it's going to be awful. Just settle in. I'll almost be out of the office. I'm turned out in 2027, so I'll be gone. And so you'll have to get mad at somebody new. But it'll be terrible for a little while. But when it's done, this should be top class, beautiful, complete streets road. And the most important things that I asked for was really wide sidewalks and no more of these swales. So if you come in and do culverts, so that there's big areas, like 20 feet of grass on the sides either way. And then 10-foot sport tracks so that you can get kids and people up and down the street. And so that's built into this plan. Traffic circles are all over the plan, as you see. The goal there is that they slow down traffic, but it smooths down traffic. And so slow, smooth, fast. If this was implemented, we would have less waiting on Penman Road as currently designed. The biggest negative feedback, and I would say about half of those that have a problem with something in Penman Road, their problem is the median. So if you look at the green in the middle, that is the landscape median. The biggest question I have, and I don't have an answer for you yet, is just how high that median goes. Is it like the ones you see in Jacksonville, stuff way up? Or is it just a kind of a flat median? The reason that's important is emergency vehicles, people who live on Penman Road being able to back in and out. There are real issues there. And I've listened to them, and I've gone to see their houses, their businesses, and that's true. There's real stuff that we need to look at. But something is going to happen on Penman Road. We will have better drainage. We will have better traffic flow. We will have some traffic circles. I don't know if we'll have this many traffic circles, but we will have some traffic circles, in particular on at the 5-way at Florida. So that's what's going on with Penman Road. Again, not the final plan, but we're close. We're getting to the last chapters of the development side of this. So that's what the story is there. I promise I'll answer your question about Penman Road and talk about it at the Q&A, but that's where we are right now. Is that how it's right? Okay. I'll talk about schools for a half second here. This is the subject that always gets me the most trouble. But I just want to be kind of clear about what I think is going to happen to the beaches schools. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about Jacksonville public schools because I'm not your school board member. Oh, sure. You talk to April Barney, she'll talk to you too, to your talk about schools every day for the rest of your life. Perfect. Perfect. But my thought is that none of the beaches schools are going to close. Like, if I had to tell you right now, Atlantic Beach Elementary is not going to close as a development public school. It's just not going to happen. What happened was, since 2013, 2014, when school choice really started hitting in Florida, the number of the kids going to traditional public schools in Duval County started to go down. And every single year it went down. And then school choice really got double up and plus more and more, so there were more options. And parents took them. And so as the parents were taking their kids out of traditional public schools, the schools started becoming half full. Not only that, but in Jacksonville, we always had too many schools. During segregation, we would have an elementary school over here, and one literally right across the street. This one was for white kids, and this one was for black kids. And that system, that still exists, and we have too many schools. There's just no question, especially in the urban core of Jacksonville. So we always had too many schools. Now we have way too many schools, and so the traditional public schools has to contract. We have to close them. So I'll be a little bit opinionated on this piece, which is to say, if you had a choice to close a public school, and you had a school that is full in Atlantic Beach, and you have a half-full school that has traditionally failed for a generation, which one would you close? You close this one every single day. But it's politically difficult sometimes to close this one. And that's what the school board is, that's what the challenge is. We have a new superintendent who's just starting, and so I'm hopeful and somewhat optimistic. I've chatted with him that he understands that Atlantic Beach Elementary School, Seabreeze, San Paulo, all our beaches schools, Anchor Academy, all the Mayport schools should stay open because they're popular, they're filled, parents support them, and those kids need those schools. There's no reason why all beaches schools shouldn't stay open. Also, the school district promised us that they would when they passed the half-cent sales tax. So there's absolutely no reason why any of those schools should close. I'm particularly passionate about Anchor Academy. If you don't know, it's attached to Naval Station Mayport. And people are saying, well, sometimes it's only half full. It's like, of course sometimes the Navy school is half full. The ships go, and they take all of the sailors and all of the sailors' kids with them. And then we'll get new ships, and then it'll fill right back up again. But that gate between the station and the garrison and the school is used 187 times a day by parents and families. That's how close this relationship is. Kids that are in a Navy school with Navy parents and Navy teachers and Navy base right there are given a bubble because it's hard to be a military family. Know that you're leaving in 2 or 3 years, and all these people you know now, and this teacher that you love, and that principal you know, are all going to be gone. You're going to get a brand new school, or if you're coming into Mayport and you don't know anybody, being in that bubble is critical. And I think it is worth, and I will fight to the end to keep Anchor open because the benefit to those military families is worth it. If it means that we have a school that is half full for a couple of months, fine. Those kids deserve it, those families deserve it. I'll fight for that. Interestingly, if a school closes, do anybody know who has the first right of refusal? The charter schools have the first right of refusal. So even if Atlantic Beach Elementary School were to close as a traditional public school, which I do not think is going to happen, and I will fight with you to stop it, I don't think it's going to happen. Even if it did, the parents whose kids go there would simply take it over and run it as a charter. And the teachers would probably stay, the principal would probably stay, the custodians would be the same person, the PE teacher would be the same person. Now you just have a school run by parents. So the chances that Atlantic Beach Elementary School is not going to be a thriving elementary school in Atlantic Beach is like 0.000%. Always. We're about halfway through. See, it's always halfway through, and then he's like, yeah, 36. All right. Mayor Hoffman, are you ready? It's a 2-year duty. Thank you. So that's the story with our beach schools. One of the things that will for sure change is our feeder patterns. And now I love seeing all these parents getting really geared into and educated about feeder patterns. But it will be inevitably true that more kids that live over the ditch will have to come to beach schools to make sure they're plus up. And I think that's fine, right? I think we're better off if our schools are full. So that's the situation with schools. We We have a new superintendent, so it should be interesting to see how all this goes down, but keeping a very close eye on it, I'm sure. I just want to talk about housing and parks really fast. On housing, you don't know this probably, but I probably passed more housing bills than anyone in the history of the city of Jacksonville. And I pass one or file one every few weeks. I can do something new. So, but it doesn't affect you at all because we have absolutely no power out here. So everything I'm doing when it comes to housing is over the ditch and for the rest of the city. And let me tell you why I spend my time doing it. It is incredibly expensive to buy a new home in Jacksonville. Whether it's a condo or a townhome, whether it's a single-family home, the American dream, if you're a young family or a single person, is just getting further and further and further and further away, such that people just can't buy houses. They're living with their parents. They're doing all these other things. And folks further down the economic ladder, it's harder and more expensive to rent. Rent is going up and up and up in Jacksonville. Meaning just having a home is getting out of reach, which means our homelessness population has gotten larger in Jacksonville, not smaller. Okay. So my response to this housing crisis is we need more housing. More housing means prices should come down. And so the first bill I passed was called an accessory dwelling unit bill. It's kind of like granny flats or carriage houses. So in most places in Jacksonville now, if we pass this bill, you can have a carriage house or an accessory dwelling unit in the back of the house. That was called the Keep Our Families Together Act. You could build one of these things if someone in your family was living there. It's kept parents together and kids together. The second thing we passed was a bill just recently called the Cottages Bill. As Cottages basically said that if you're allowed to build an apartment building, or duplexes, or triplexes, or multifamily, why not build detached townhomes? Because that's what people want. People don't really want to live most of the time in buildings that are, everybody else shares their walls. People don't really like duplexes, shared wall. They want to own all four walls. They want to own their own roof. And here's the other plus side is, insurance companies love it when you own all four walls, and finance companies love it when you own all four walls. And so it's just easier to get people into a brand new home. It just happens to be smaller, right? So it's 600, 700 square feet. And those are more accessible, $210,000, $220,000. That's a little bit more achievable when you have the federal programs, FHA, zero down. All of a sudden, homeownership is something you can get to. It's interesting who supports me and fights me on these efforts to increase density on the other side of the ditch. Let me be clear, nothing out here. I've never changed the rule out here as your kid councilperson. But over the ditch, trying to create density in our neighborhoods has been critical in order to help this housing crisis. And so we've done a lot of other bills too, and we're about to have a big one called the Missing Middle Bill, which will essentially say that we could have more duplexes, triplexes, and multifamily and single-family neighborhoods. But again, not here at the beaches. But I'm super passionate about it because we are the #1 thing that fights development in the city of Jacksonville, makes homeownership more difficult as the Jacksonville City Council. We are the block, and so I'm trying to open more doors so people can build their homes, people can develop property. There's lots of infill in Jacksonville. The other benefit is what I'm trying to do is encourage infill development, so that when you go to the north side, you go out to the west side, or you look at what's going on in South Jacksonville, and you see all these trees being clear-cut and a whole new developments of neighborhoods of single-family homes. Like if I'm successful, that will happen less. And instead it will be more infill development because it's already available. So that's the housing. And then last, I'll just close on parks, then I'll do questions right on time here, is so in Hannah Park, we've got a new bike park coming in. Chuck McHugh is listening. There is a new bike park coming in. It will be we'll take one of the parking lots that is, the parking lot is the furthest to the south from Hannah Park. Those big parking lots towards the beach. We're going to take one of those to create a bike park. So there'll be a pump track with up and down for the kids to do the thing. And then there'll be a bike changing station where you can fill up your tires or fix things. So that'll be one piece of the park. Another park that we're doing is right off Maple Road. I was working with Mayor Ford on this, and we just walked the entire property recently together. Mayor Ford's like, we got to make this happen. I was like, I agree. Let's make this park happen. And so it'll be a passive park with elevated walks. It's like cool white walks. I think they're awesome, and it's a huge area. You can do almost like maybe it's an eighth of a mile on an elevated walk back there. And there'll be and there'll be parking, there'll be bathrooms, and then a new entrance to make part of this Hannah Park with bikes only. So it'll be a nice way to activate bikes for Hannah Park. And then the third one is a park down off of Mayport Station, which should be a passive park so that you get more like kayaks into the water and rivers and stuff like that out there. So 3 new parks coming to the beaches. Excited about those, but most importantly, the kind of parks that we can sustain. There's a lot of passion building parks in Jacksonville. There's not necessarily the money to maintain them. We have a lot of rundown parks in our city. All 3 of these parks will be maintained as passive parks. So that's my presentation. I would love to ask questions. We have 20 minutes, so please go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm sure it's not solved yet, but my question is, what direction are we taking to resolving the unfunded mandate about homeless camps or homeless sites?
Here at the beaches.
Well, it probably needs to be a countywide
Yeah, so
discussion.
it's interesting. City of Jacksonville loves commissions and committees, and it drives me crazy. Anytime there's a problem, they try to create a new commission to look at something and come back with recommendations. It's the way politicians try and make it look like something's happening and doing nothing. And so, of course, they want to create a homelessness commission. And I opposed it. I said, this makes no sense. We don't need another. Let's just go figure out who's doing really good work and solve homelessness. That was my view. I lost, but it's okay. Here's some good stuff when it comes to homelessness in Jacksonville. First of all, the men's campus for Solsbacher is moving to a much better location on 295, where there'll be workforce housing and a lot of other good things happening. So that would be wonderful. Also, Solsbacher opened their women and children's campus a few years ago, and it's literally one of the best in the country. It's amazing. So the question isn't do we have the services, it's how do we get the people who need them to those services. And so that is a transportation problem. 825 square miles in Jacksonville, we've got problems sprinkled around the state, probably sprinkled around the city, and getting people to services is always our challenge. So that's a transportation issue with JTA. And I have opposed their efforts to do these like unmanned vehicles and spending hundreds of millions of dollars on like elevated trains. And simply say, can we just have the best bus system in America? Let's just keep it simple, keep it real old school, and just get people around. In fact, you can just give every single person who needs it a credit card that says you can use this for Uber. It would probably be a more efficient system to just get people where they need to go. But in Jacksonville, it's always been a transportation problem, not necessarily a services problem. So I agree with you. And here at the beaches, people think we don't have homelessness out here. I will say, homelessness, like all of you. You have homelessness camps, and I come at it as a Christian, which is to say, my job is not to say this is a problem. My job is to say this is a challenge for us to work together to get resources for these folks. Yes, ma'am. You can ask me about Atlantic Beach.
Yes.
I'll re-ask your question so you get
Not
on
only the Atlantic Beach, but all of the beaches.
Shoot.
My question has 2 parts. First part is what have you, and I'm Carolyn Zisser, and I live in Atlantic Beach. What have you done to save our beaches' traditional public schools from closure or consolidation since April 1 of 2024? That's part A. Part B is, what are you going to do to save our beaches' traditional public schools to get them off the closure or consolidation lists?
Yeah, no, it's an issue we're all zeroed in on, right? And we're all passionate about it. And unfortunately, the issue's been politicized a little bit. Instead of our question being, how do we as the beach collectively fight for our beaches schools, it's been this question of attacking charter schools, attacking people who like school choice. I think that's a misfire, because if we're not all collectively focused on keeping our beaches schools and instead of fighting each other, I think we'll be less successful. So to answer both your questions, first, I did very public. I went to every one of our city councils and said, I will fight to keep Atlantic Beach open. Then I did the smart thing, which is I called the school board member, who told me that it will not close. So I talked to April Farney, literally.
Did you say did they commit to you? I mean,
That Atlantic Beach was not closed.
on the record, are you saying?
Yeah, she told me it was Atlantic Beach.
School board told you Atlantic Beach would not close?
Yeah.
One school board member.
Yeah, our school board rep told me.
Oh, our school board,
I'm-
and that was April Farney.
Yeah, exactly. So I immediately called April. She's a very good friend. I think she's a wonderful school board member. I immediately called her and I said, I'm worried about Atlantic Beach Elementary. I'm worried about San Pablo. I'm worried about Seaside. I'm worried about Anchor Academy. I'm worried about Anchor schools. Tell me what's going to go on. And her immediate response was, we probably have to change the feeder patterns. But she told me she didn't expect any of the schools would close, and that instead this report was leaked somehow. And they were years away from making any of these decisions. But look, anybody who's listening to me knows I'm not shy to say how I feel about things, and I came out very strongly and said I will support these our beaches schools and I don't want to close. That being said, I'm a passionate believer that parents should not have to send their kids to a family school. And that's not happening in the beaches. But in downtown Jacksonville, it's happening. And I will fight for those parents to be able to send their kids to a school that does work. They should not be strapped to a school that's failing. They should not, because of their zip code, have less opportunities than the kids out here. Not everybody gets to go to Atlantic Beach Elementary. It is an amazing school. Or my niece and nephew went at Beach Elementary. Not everybody gets that. Sometimes they have to go to a school where the kids that they are going to are not at reading level. And maybe they are advancing, but they don't have those opportunities. And those parents are stuck there in many places. In Jacksonville, thank goodness, because of school choice, they can send their kid to a magnet school. They can send their kid to another traditional public school, charter school, homeschool, micro school, private school. So that's what I'm personally.
May I follow up?
Well, I'll let you give everybody else a chance. I know school choice will railroad us if we go down that road. Go ahead, Mayor.
Follow-up question. What have you done what have you actually done when you're talking to Ms. Horning about keeping our beaches closed, schools from closing? For instance,
Yeah, I get it.
Could you introduce a resolution at the
It's
city
not our
council?
school board. You know
I
this.
get what you're saying. Well, let me answer the question. I'm tracking. I'm on the school board, so I can't make those decisions for you or for them or for the community. But I advocate literally to all of the school board members that I know, and they've all told me the same thing, which is these schools are very unlikely to close, right? So that's one thing I've done. The second is this microphone. This is the most powerful thing I have when it comes to schools, is just say what I think, and hopefully people will come with me. So that's the answer. Mayor Hoffman.
Chris Hoffman, dog walker. Going back to the Jaguars, can you talk about the proposed funding mechanism? I know it's kind of complicated, particularly the Better Jacksonville plan and what it would mean for our current share of the Better Jacksonville plan.
Yeah, so the beach size is a little bit different experience than for everybody else, right? Because each beach city gets to have a Jacksonville plan. So if the mayor gets for white Mayor Deegan, then you all get more money for the next 4 years than you otherwise would have. Even so, I opposed what she's trying to do, and let me explain why. So when Mayor Curry came into office, we had billions of dollars in pension deficit. For whatever reason, for a generation, there were these holidays, as they call it. It essentially says for stretches of time, we didn't pay into our police and fire pension funds. And then it was criminally mismanaged, like terribly. Every other pension fund in America is going up like this, and ours was doing this, right? So billions of dollars we owe our police and fire who have retired or who will retire. Mayor Curry came to office and he said, let's take the Better Jacksonville Plan tax, which was used for infrastructure, things like parks and the downtown library. Let's take it and extend it and use that extended half-cent sales tax to pay down our police and fire pension. And that was supposed to start soon. And Mayor Deegan would now like to kick that out of 4 years. My issue is that I want to pay down our police and fire pension debt as fast as possible, because that is going to be a monster for us to deal with. And essentially kicking it another 4 years has got a massive cost to the city that we don't talk about. So that's my view. I think there's good arguments on both sides. Like, I get it, what they're trying to do. It's really easy now to take that money and use it to build a stadium. It's really painful in 20 years and 30 years. That's when it really hurts. And I'm just tired of fiscal insanity where we don't care about what's going to happen in 10, 20, 30 years, because that's how we got to the problem we did. And most cities do that, right? Because it's politically easy to kick the can. Because everybody will be out of office, right? Did you have a Penman Road question back there? Hold on 1 second. I didn't want to not get back to you.
I'm sorry, pardon me. My name is Bruce Waters. Thank you for making the time to come and speak with us. We really appreciate it. When you were doing your Jaguar presentation, I thought you had said, I'll take questions on that now.
Oh, yeah, happy to take it.
If you mentioned, I'm a season ticket holder, and I live here in Jack's Beach. I'm concerned about the personal seat license. If y'all play Santa Claus and give them all this money, I don't want them coming back and then trying to sell us our season tickets for an extra 20 grand.
Yeah.
Can you do something to protect us?
So you're the first person who brought that up to me. So my answer is, let me go do some research and ask. Because I'll figure out the answer. I'll get your cell phone and we'll respond and find out what the answer is. That I typically have really good communications with them. Even if we don't always agree on what they're doing, what they're asking for, they always tell me how like what's going on. So I'll find an answer.
Thank you.
That is good. What do we got? Go ahead. No, it's all good. Go ahead.
Great. Earlier you
spoke about the inequality of what we pay in to what we get back. I live in Jacksonville Beach. We have the most public access to all the beaches. 80% of our calls for service to our police department are for people who don't live here. We can get a bigger piece of the pie back to take care of all the people that are coming and using our services. We're a town of 24,000 people. We have 71 police officers, and they can't take care of it. It's not their fault, but it's kind of like an unfunded mandate. I mean, we got to be the babysitters and everybody. And it's time that we start getting some money back.
You're speaking my language. God bless you. So my seat will be up in 3 years. If you run on that platform, I'll support you. 100% agree. So I always say this, there's a huge pipeline of cash leaving the beaches, and this tiny little fire hose of money coming back to us.
Right.
There's huge amounts. We pay more to the city than any other district, and we get the least back. And so the problem is there's 18 other city council people who don't live out here, and they would love to take our money to do whatever they want.
Ocean County.
And so, hey, I'm all about Ocean County. If you want to start after this meeting, I'm in. So I have to pick my battles downtown about how to get money back here to the beaches. I have to pick my battles downtown to make sure that I don't become irrelevant because all I'm doing is complaining that we spent all this money, although it's getting pretty close. But you're right, it is unfair. It is totally ridiculous. I wish we had our own county so we didn't have to deal with this, but right now we don't. And so the key thing is to hold our at-large city council members. We have 5 at-large. Hold them accountable because they want to get reelected. So it'd be like, hey, what about all that? Mitch, you had a question?
Yeah, back to Mayor Hoffman's question. When Mayor Curry got the legislature to change everything to better Jacksonville, and I know you answered it, but I'm not sure if I understood your answer. It was supposed to switch over to the pension. Therefore, the cities at the beaches would no longer get that better Jacksonville money.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay. Now that they're rethinking to use some of this money for the new stadium, does that mean we're included in that same package? We continue to get our money like we do today?
It does. It's an unintended benefit to the beaches. It's not like they designed it to be like, oh, let's get the beaches some more cash. It's just a result that you get whatever you get. I don't know, Mayor Hoffman, how much money you get?
I don't know.
Whatever that is. In Empty Beach was like $250,000 a year when I was a city councilman there, 7 years ago. So that was typically like how we be racked. But yeah, the answer is that would be part of the deal. But don't forget, as nice as that money might sound, you're going to have to pick up a tab for all the money that goes into pay for it. So it's not much of a deal for the beach, especially considering how high real estate prices are. I mean, that's why we pay more than everybody else, because our houses are worth the most, the commercial real estate is worth the most, and therefore our taxes are the highest. And given how many tear downs there are around the beaches, that number's only going to go up as how old houses are going down, new houses are going up.
And then I'll be real quick on this. The second thing about Jaguar money, right now, you talk about the better Jacksonville money, the taxpayers of Duval County, whether they say it's a tax increase or not, anytime you give some programs, it's a tax increase, okay?
Your taxes are going to go up, I promise you. Eventually, they're going to go back and try to.
So my question is this, is there any, I don't see any consideration in any of these meetings where it says that if you're a ticket holder in Clay County, Nassau County, Orlando, or anywhere else, are they going to consider some type of fee added to that ticket?
I actually have some interesting news to give you, which is St. Johns County and Nassau County and some of these other counties are going to pay for our stadium. Let me tell you how. They're in the JDA service area. So JDA gives $100+ million to the city of Jacksonville. That money comes from all the ratepayers in the entire JDA area. If JDA rates go up, it's essentially a backdoor tax about everybody in the JDA service area. There's been a request to JDA to give $15 million more per year to the city of Jacksonville. If you don't think that's connected to paying for the stadium, I got to be gracious to you. So they will pay. I don't think it's fair, right? I don't think that JDA rate should be any higher than it should be, because JDA rate, I learned this during the JDA investigation. People who need JDA the most and who have the hardest time paying that bill are the people who have the least. And they're the ones that have to keep the power on. Try living without power on, but you can't. And so there's this backdoor tax. Commissioner Kelly, what was your other question? I made you sit down on that one, so I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Well, referring to paying, fixing your pension problem, we fixed ours. And if we're paying that 1.5 cent tax,
Yeah.
we don't want to fix yours. We've already fixed ours.
Yeah, I look at these two, all right. I'm always in the money piece, but I'm good. No, I agree, and you are going to pay twice, therefore, good call.
Yeah, Councilman Diamond, I just want to say thank you for your service, and I'm not talking about your public service here in Jacksonville, but your recent deployment. I just want to corroborate, you were constantly reaching back to me, asking me if I needed help on anything while you were deployed. Thank you for that. But also thank you, when you came back, I called you and I told you we had a real big shortfall in the renovation and expansion of our lifeguard station. Within 48 hours, you stepped up with an additional $200,000. Thank you for that.
It was your money, so I'm just happy to get it back for you.
Well, and it wasn't all of our money. We want more.
Right, of course.
But that's a good start. But finally, I look forward to working with you in partnership on the realization of your vision and our vision for the new park on Mayport Road. Thank
Yeah,
you
it's
for
gonna be
that.
exciting. Well, you know, and look, Mayport Road is, in my opinion, the most exciting new thing happening at beaches, right? It's an explosion, all these new restaurants, the new breweries, all this stuff happening. You know, Mayport Road used to be like awful, now it's just like taking off, and it's interesting. So our challenge as a community, and I'll say this for all of us here, is how do we keep Mayport Road not becoming generic, not just filled with a bunch of chain restaurants, because they will eventually see that there's all this interest, and all of a sudden they're going to see like a wing place that you can see anywhere in America. Let's try and keep it interesting. Let's try to keep it the beaches right there. Bet you have a school question, go for it.
Yes, another school, and I realize you're not on the school board. I guess one of my questions relates to taxpayer dollars and the use of them, because that seems to be important to you.
Yeah, it is.
And you voted for changing that half-cent sales tax so that it was diverted to charter schools. And what my question is the difference between a public school and a charter school in the city of Jacksonville, at least, is pretty immense, because charter schools have no financial accountability. We don't know where that money goes once they get that money. And there's no academic accountability. They don't even report their tasks for years.
Yeah.
And what happens is they fail, and guess what? The person who owns it gets a huge windfall, and it's happened over and over and over again. My question is, A, why would you take that half-penny sales tax that I voted for a little bit reluctantly, but thinking, okay, our public schools are among the oldest in Florida because it was developed north down. Okay, but why would you vote for that? And secondly, what is your opinion of our current HB1 situation where we are all the taxpayer dollars paying for millionaires to send their kids to private schools who are paying on their own before and homeschool? So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I love school education as a policy topic. I'm fascinated by it. I've been studying it for the last 20 years, like, interested in it. But let me just unpack a couple of things. First of all, the city council never voted to divert money to charter schools. The state legislature did. And so what the state legislature did was said, if you're going to do a sales tax, they already had like a property tax rule, and they said, if you're going to do a sales tax for traditional public schools, you have to share equally with charter schools. That state legislature did that. Then came back to Jacksonville City Council to get on the ballot. I was the only one who voted no. I did not want to raise your taxes. And these schools were in pretty good shape. It was not going to come to us. 55% of the money was going to go to the school districts, to the zones of the schools, not out to beaches. And so I voted no. 18 other people, my colleagues, voted yes. So it went on the ballot. So I didn't vote for that. However, I would have. And here's why. The view of charter schools, I mean, there's, like, you go on Facebook and all the rest, like, the data is just so skewed because people are passionately angry about charter schools, this small subset of group is. But the accountability for charter schools, the parents just leave it. When the reason why a parent will say, I'm going to take my kid out of this local public school is because they have a problem with that school, right? They don't want their kid going there for whatever reason. And so then they get to look at all the charter options and they get put in a lottery. And if their kid gets picked out of a lottery, then they get to go to that school. But at any point, if a parent says, I don't like this charter school, they get to walk. And if enough parents walk from a charter school, it fails. And that's not true of traditional public schools, right? If enough parents walk from a traditional public school, it just things that happen, which is the problem we have now. We just keep pumping money into a school and it's not working. We should be shutting any school that's failing that, whether it's a charter school or traditional public school, we should shut them down and put our money into the ones that are working and try to replicate what's working. Okay, and then your last one was on financial accountability on a failed charter school. So it's not true that it's ever happened in Duval County school districts. And we looked at this, that a failed charter school was some sort of financial windfall for something else that they were able to put in their pocket. What has happened, and I don't particularly like this, and I would advocate against it, is that we have these big nonprofits that manage like hundreds of charter schools across the country. And they come here and they open up charter schools. They tend to be pretty good at it. However, sometimes they fail, and then their investment, they get to recoup, and it goes to other charter schools and other places for that nonprofit. So I have not heard of some rich person suddenly making tons of money off of a failed charter school because it failed. If you want to show me that data, I just haven't seen it. But I think it's fair to hold charter schools accountable for the quality, and I think the people who do that are the ones who run it, and the parents who are sending their kids there. That's they don't walk. That's the accountability. So, very question, though. I like it. I think we ran out of time. One more question. Oh, we got that little in the back. What do we got? Sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for your support of Beaches Watch. And I took great interest in what you're talking about with Bayport Road. And you talked a couple of years ago about that pump track, and we worked on that. And the gate, I'm thrilled to hear that. So it's been a couple of years without any action. Do you have like a target date for when that construction will be?
Yeah, it's been driving me crazy that Hannah Park takes so long to get a pump track. What happened was the passive park was getting the pump track, and they put all this energy and effort to make a pump track there. You don't know that's a bike track, like ramps and stuff. Unfortunately, there's just not enough buildable land there. Anybody who lives in Florida knows this. It's like wetlands. You can't do anything with wetlands. There's just too many wetlands, so they had to find a new place for it. So now they've redesigned it to be a Hannah Park. I expect that we will move that along Darrell Joseph and the city parks in the next 2 years. So, and then this other one's out of design phase now. So they just put designs in front of me and said, which do you like? I said, look, I think the one that has more park and less parking is the best one because it just seemed like the best choice to go on.
Well, I want to thank you for pushing those through and talking about them for years, and that's a quality of life issue for a group of youngsters that really don't have the kind of outlets that they need. So thank you very much for that. I'm happy to hear that. That's going to happen.
It's absolutely going to happen.
Last question, Jeff?
Okay.
Last question, no. All right. One more question and that's it. I'm a resident of Atlantic Beach, but I'm also a resident of Jacksonville. What's the thinking of City Council when they decide that it's okay for the Chick-fil-A to be built in the neighborhood where the residents are outraged about the idea of having a Chick-fil-A there?
Yeah.
Or the recent vote in San Marco where it was against what the overlay district wanted?
Yeah.
What is the thinking of the council when they do things like
So
this?
two very different votes, but I'll just speak for the Chick-fil-A. If you just watch the news really fast, it looks like they forced a Chick-fil-A on this neighborhood when they didn't have to do that at all, and none of the neighbors wanted it. But first of all, on those zoning issues, neighbors that are okay with it never show up. So there's always tons of neighborhoods that are excited to have a Chick-fil-A or whatever it is that never show up. It's people who don't like it, and there were lots of people who showed up at Chick-fil-A who didn't like it. What you didn't hear on the news is there was already pre-approved zoned McDonald's. So the question wasn't Chick-fil-A or nothing, it was Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. And my view of this was that Chick-fil-A has more of the parking and more of the drive-through on the site, as opposed to McDonald's, which is going to dump it off into the neighborhood where all the traffic. Have you ever been to that Starbucks over here at the corner of 3rd and Atlantic when the people from Georgia, it's never us, it's the people from out of town, start backing up along 3rd Street? That's what I was trying to stop from happening to those neighbors, because if you keep the traffic on the site there, the Chick-fil-A is a better deal than a 24/7 open on Sundays McDonald's. So that's why I voted for that. Those are all fair questions though. LEZ is tough because there's always winners and losers, and I don't particularly like that part of it, but that's my job as your representative to look at the law and then do the best I can for the long-term health of the community. But fair questions, I get it all the time.
All right, one last question.
I was just wondering if you were at the school board meeting at Fletcher High School on May 21st.
I was there.
How come you didn't speak for the constituency?
So I had land use and zoning that night. So I had a city council meeting that I had to be at. Land use and zoning is like 4 hours. As soon as it was over, I partially sped most of the way down. And I was there. George and I were both there in the back. I'm not on the school board, but I'm, obviously on the field all the time on the school board issues. But I was there.
Can we get a hand for?
Yep.
Thank you for being in the bullseye there. That was great, yeah, thank you all. So just to remind you, please, this meeting is being recorded, it'll be on our YouTube channel tomorrow, you can follow us on Facebook or on our website. And for those of you who are physically able, if you can help us stack the chairs, we'll get out here a little bit faster. Thank you, and join us for July 10th for our police chief meeting.
Are we stacking?